Hi, I'm Michelle Chalfant, psychotherapist, holistic life coach, and human just like you, learning to navigate life's challenges. With over 25 years experience, I teach people how to get healthy using the adult chair model. The adult chair model is where simple psychology meets grounded spirituality, and it teaches us how to become healthy adults. From anxiety and depression to codependency and relationship issues, you can use the adult chair for just about anything. Each week, I share practical tips, tools, and advice from myself and a wide range of experts on how to get unstuck, how to live authentically, and how to truly love yourself, all while sitting in your adult chair. Welcome to the Adult Chair Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Adult Chair Podcast. I am Michelle Chalfant, where we talk all about living as an emotionally healthy adult. What a concept, right? That's what we do here in the Adult Chair. So I'm so happy to have you with me today. Thank you to all of our new listeners. Thank you. I want to say again, thank you for your 5-star reviews in Apple Podcast. Actually, the other places like Spotify and Google too. I really appreciate it. I have read them again recently and it just warms my heart. So just want to say thanks. For those of you, we get a lot of requests in for different shows that I've actually done. So if you are new to the show, just go to theadultchair.com and on the podcast page is a search bar and you just have to put in the keyword that you're looking for and all the shows will pop up for you. So there you go. All right. We are talking today about enmeshment. Yeah. Now, a lot of you don't know what that is, and it's a term we all need to know. Today, I have Dr. Kenneth Adams on the show again. Yes, he's been on before. He's on again today because I got tons of positive feedback. You guys wanted to have him back again, and I listened to the requests, so he's back again. So today he's going to explain what enmeshment is. Basically, I'll just tell you, just to start out, enmeshment means I don't have good boundaries at all with myself. I am blending with other people. Okay, so actually, one of my questions was, hey, if you're codependent, does that mean you're enmeshed? And he answers all these questions, as well as we talk about boundaries. We talk about the best way to deal with someone who consistently breaks or disrespects boundaries when you're learning and healing from enmeshment. We also talked about how to help your spouse see, or your beloved, anybody, that they're enmeshed with someone else. The first show that I did with him a few months ago, we talked about when your husband or boyfriend is enmeshed with their mother. Okay. And they can't see it. So we talked again a little bit about that today. And then when we're healing this enmeshment, what do you do with the guilt that comes up when you start to separate out from that person that you're enmeshed with? You know, oftentimes when we set these boundaries, it's like, ooh, this doesn't feel good. I don't like this. So we feel guilty. We talked about that. Like, what do you do when that guilt comes up? What do you do when the person that you're setting boundaries with gets angry? Yeah, I know a lot of you asked about that. I asked the questions. In fact, these questions came from a story that I did in social media. And I said, what do you guys want to learn more about when it comes to enmeshment? And you gave me tons of questions, and I asked all of them on today's show. Before we jump into the show, I have some amazing news to share with you guys. The 30-day journaling challenge is back. We still get emails about this all the time. We do this once a year. It is a free 30-day journaling challenge that begins November 1st. And what happens is you get a new journaling prompt every single day in your inbox. It is a phenomenal way to do self-work. Let me just tell you, I take you on a guided journey basically over the course of the whole month of November. I get you ready for holidays. I help you to stay connected to yourselves. I get you just in a really good balanced state that carries you through the winter months and hopefully throughout the rest of the year. We do a lot of healing and transformation this whole month. So if you'd like to join us, and by the way, Even if you've done the journaling challenge in the past, because this is our 4th year doing it, you have to sign up again every single year. So you just head over to theadultchair.com/30 days. That's 30 DAYS. Theadultchair.com/30 days and sign up, and you'll get your first prompt on November 1st. I look forward to seeing you guys there. It is going to be a phenomenal month. All right, let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Kenneth Adams. He is a licensed psychologist, faculty member with the International Institute of Trauma and Addiction Professionals, and the clinical director and founder of Kenneth M. Adams and Associates in suburban Detroit and Ann Arbor, Michigan. In addition to maintaining an active clinical practice, Dr. Adams is a national lecturer, workshop leader, and consultant in the areas of family enmeshment, child abuse, dysfunctional family systems, and sex addiction. He's the author of numerous peer-reviewed papers, book chapters, and Silently Seduced When He's Married to His Mom, as well as co-editor of Clinical Management of Sex Addiction. Dr. Adams is the creator and director of the popular workshops on overcoming enmeshment, found at overcomingenmeshment.com. He was the co-recipient of the 2001 Reader's Choice Award for his paper on shame reduction and affect regulation. In 2011, Dr. Adams received the Carnes Award for outstanding work in the field of sexual addiction and compulsivity. And in 2016, received a Lifetime Achievement Award from ITAP for his work with trauma and addiction. It is an absolute honor to have him on the show. So here we go. We're going to talk to Dr. Kenneth Adams. So welcome again to the Adult Chair Podcast, Dr. Ken Adams.
Yeah, well, thank you. Nice to be here. I'm excited.
I am thrilled to have you back. I was just saying to you that I had posted some questions, or I posted a question on social media, and I said, hey, what do you guys want to know about enmeshment? And let me just tell you, I was flooded with questions. I said, perfect. I said, I'm having Dr. Ken Adams on. What do you guys want to know? And they're very excited to have you back. So as am I. So I have a lot of questions. You are the enmeshment master. That's what I'm going to call you.
I don't think I've been titled that, but okay, I'll take it.
I'm going to title you that. You know a heck of a lot about enmeshment. So one of the first things I think I'd like to ask is, because there were some people that even said to me, hey, what is enmeshment? Tell us, let's just start really simply with what it is, because I'm sure a lot of people are living with it or experiencing it within themselves or within the family, and they don't even know. So let's start there.
Okay, good. Yeah, I think we do need to ground ourselves in the definition, because it's confusing. It's being used in the popular culture, and everybody wants to know where's the line between caring and enmeshment. And
yes,
so let's see if we can get simple and clear. So enmeshment is a term used to describe family system functioning.
Okay.
Where just by comparison, this may help your listeners. On one end is what we call emotionally disengaged families.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody really cares what anyone else is doing. There's a great deal of autonomy, but there's no closeness, no warm fuzzies, no real dependency on each other. Everybody's able to function by themselves. The trouble is, there's a lot of neglect.
Yeah.
You go to the other extreme, enmeshment is the other side of that continuum, and you have too much involvement, too much dependency, too much, I can't function without you. Tell me how I should drive to the city today. You know, I've had just wild stories about people needing assurances and dependency in ways that just is burdensome. And when in those systems and in enmeshment, there is an over-involvement between people. I often work with parents and adults, parents and their adult children, in which the adult child is too obligated. So in those enmeshed systems, dependency is built on obligation and loyalties driven by guilt.
Yeah.
Prohibitions.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the opposite from these disengaged systems. You owe me, you can't leave me. So I need you to tune into me. And there's a cost. So that when we have enmeshment, there's too much dependency, too much involvement. at a cost to my own independence, my own autonomy. And so I feel bound to you out of guilt rather than desire to visit with you or to love you. So
Mm.
that is the feeling of enmeshment, the essence.
Yeah.
Does that help?
So yeah, no, that's fantastic. So what I heard you say is you've got one extreme, which would be, let's say, kids that would come out of that family would be the avoidant attached kids. And then
Yeah.
you've got the other end of the spectrum, which is enmeshment.
Yes.
So it's the two extremes. How does someone, if a child is in a family, how does that enmeshment, tell us what that exactly looks like? What do the parents look like? Or what is the person that's enmeshing with us? I want to know really specifically, and someone had asked, and I had the same question. What's the difference between codependency and enmeshment? Like, if you're codependent, are you enmeshed as well? Because it's
No,
blended boundaries. Oh, no.
no,
Okay.
no,
Let me hear.
no. Well, yeah. So let me see. So when I think about codependency, I think about there's more than one way to get there to become codependent, which is in some ways very similar to what we just described as enmeshment.
Hmm.
Um, when I think of the term codependency, I think about somebody whose value is only defined in terms of how I can be there for you,
Hmm.
and I'm anxious with taking care of you, and I need you to let me take care of you and let me over involve myself with you. And so that there is a sort of overlap between what I just described as enmeshment, but it isn't bound out of guilty, obligatory, contractual arrangements of loyalty.
Got it.
That's the piece that I think is our dividing line. So in an enmeshed system, so you can become codependent and get worried because I was neglected as a boy or a girl or abused, and so do you still like me? And so I'm going to focus on your problems, and I'm going to over involve myself with your life because I have no life. And that certainly is a characteristic of an enmeshed individual.
Hmm.
The added piece for enmeshment is I can't leave you because I'm obligated and guilty to be here, and autonomy and separateness feels like a disloyalty. That isn't
Yes.
that isn't always true in codependency. So
Hmm.
that so that's different, and that's important for your listeners to understand that in enmeshment, so in codependency, I'm trying to have my own life. I'm trying to let you have yours. I'm trying to give you space, which of course is also part of the enmeshment recovery. But the bigger fish to fry in enmeshment recovery is to divorce myself, I'm going to use that word, from
Hmm.
obligatory contractual assignment to be there for you at a cost to me because I am loyal and guilty and obligated to be by your side. So that guilty contractual arrangement is really a different piece. So the parent or the one enmeshing is often sending messages of take care of me, don't leave me. Sometimes
Mm.
explicit, sometimes implicit. I'm always talking about my helplessness and sorrow and difficulties with your father. Say it's the mother in this case,
Hmm. Hmm.
but not limited to mothers. Let's not pick on mothers here. Um, it's because fathers can do it too, for
But is it
sure.
in general, do you find more often, because you're someone that studies enmeshment, do you find that it's more the mothers that are enmeshing with the children or the fathers, or 50-50 spread? What do you find?
So, of course, I have to base it upon the people I've seen, and so I have a
Hmm.
biased sample, right, over the
Hmm.
years. And I've written When He's Married to Mom, so that focuses on men. But in general, because fathers have historically been a more disengaged role in systems, oh, that's changing in recent years. It is typically more common to have the report that the mother, either by the daughter or the son, is way too involved in my business, and I feel guilty if I even don't take her call. So
Hmm.
that isn't typical with the fathers. So in answer to your question, probably yes, more so mothers than fathers.
Got it.
Um, but some of that's changing. Some of that's changing. So we see more fathers showing up now, more fathers getting over involved in their kids' lives. Involved and sometimes over involved,
Hmm.
screaming at baseball games or soccer games when,
Yeah.
when they shouldn't be.
That's what I was thinking about. Yeah, I'll get, yeah. Yeah.
Transferring my needs as a kid onto my kid, and then having a fight with the referee or some doggone thing. So there can be some of that we're beginning to witness, but yes, primarily. So you see you asked, what is the characteristics of the parent, in this case, so in the parent or the adult, they tend to come from backgrounds not uncommon to codependency, abandonment, lack of differentiation in their own identities, loneliness. And then they attach to their kids or others and begin to send messages of guilty, obligatory assignment to you. Don't you dare leave. You're obligated to me. You have to take care of me. So that really is the primary characteristic of the person doing the enmeshing, is they're sending implicit or explicit messages.
I'm curious what's going on when you say this in the marriage. So in other words, if I'm getting married, let's say, or I'm in a relationship with someone, I would, in a healthy relationship, we would get a lot of those needs and validation, et cetera, from our spouse, right? Or from our partner. So if I'm wondering what kind of marriages these people have, do they then turn toward the children or the child because they're not getting it from their partner?
Yeah, that's fairly typical.
Okay.
Yes, you bring up a good point. And so again, in my sample, somewhat biased, of course, but you almost always see a marital bond or a relationship bond that lacks a robust intimacy. And so as the child then begins to leave and emancipate and differentiate from the parent in their teen years and young adult years, there's nothing to fall back on. And so I cling tighter to this kid who wants his or her own wings, and rather than turning into my partner or spouse and reconnecting, rebuilding. And so, and to some degree, that's a natural phenomena with all parents, even if there's not heavy enmeshment dynamic. It is a rebuilding, empty nest syndrome, as they call it. So there's a normal developmental falling off the cliff experience for parents who are conscious parents. Parents who are sort of disengaged, who are neglectful parents, they don't experience the empty nest because they're so narcissistically involved in their own lives.
Yeah.
And so over the generations recently, we've seen a shift in parenting, more conscious parenting, more involvement. We might argue too much at times.
I was just going to say too much involvement. It's almost like teetering in the other extreme now. It seems.
So the pendulum has swung somewhat. You're right. So so they put too much stock in the child to fill my need. To some degree, I mean, you know this as a parent yourself. There's nothing sweeter than the adoration from your kid, right?
Right.
You're perfect, right, in their eyes for a while, anyways.
Yeah, for a while.
And you don't quite get that from your spouse and partner all the time.
True.
And so there's a certain draw to the love with and for the child, and from the child. It's the sweetest thing you can find, right? And so, but you're not supposed to exploit that.
Yeah.
And so what happens is you get a taste of that, the parent does, and they say, oh my God, never mind the marriage. And, I'm going to focus everything right here, and you're not going anywhere. Now you become my drug. Now I'm obligating you. So that's another characteristic. It's almost, you see some of these parents, I've heard some wild stories, I'm afraid, again, I bias samples, retaliatory, very dysregulated, angry. The kid the young adult wants to, hey, look I'm in college, don't call me every day. I'll call you, give me some space. And the parent can get very angry. And provoke a lot of guilt, send the troops over, brothers, sisters, agents of the mother, agents of the father. Your brother's not calling me, your not calling me. So that's another characteristic of these enmeshed systems is the enmeshing adult or parent will send out proxies. And so the whole system is organized around take care of mother, by the way, so I don't have to. So you get this pressure. So that's another sort of piece of the story in these enmeshing systems.
So you bring up one of the next questions I'm looking at here, which is, so people were writing in and asking me questions about mother issues with enmeshment and mother-in-law issues with enmeshment. So I'm wondering, how do you set these boundaries? And I guess that's two separate questions, because in my opinion, and I'd like your opinion, of course, but if it's a mother-in-law issue, it's my husband's job to set that boundary.
Right.
Not my job, my husband's job. If my mother-in-law is doing something to me, it's my husband's job to take care of me. So there's
Correct.
I guess I have two separate questions here. So let's go back to what you just said about the kid that's in college. It says, hey, mom, I can't talk to you every day. I'm in class. I've got a lot going on. I'm in college or whatever. I'm 30 years old and I've got two kids and a husband, whatever it might be. And I don't know if it's different if you're in high school, college, or you're a young adult that's 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, and you're trying to set that boundary. You're trying to detach because it feels like it's too much. How do we do that? Because you're right. The parent comes back and they're angry. So what does that process look like of setting a boundary or untangling this enmeshment?
Yeah. So that's a good question. And because I think that in most people's minds, I think the boundary looks like the solution. And they misrepresent or misinterpret it as amputation. And they fear that what's being asked of them, either by their own internal distress or by their spouse or partner or by their therapist or whoever, you want me to amputate my mother or amputate my father or my family? No, that's not the boundary. Although there certainly are some very toxic, abusive family systems in which sometimes, sadly, turning your back becomes the only solution. Although that really is the exception.
Yeah. Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that.
But so the boundary is about different topics, frequency of contact, touch, topics of discussion, what you'll say or not say about my relationship, right? So sometimes outsiders are viewed suspiciously, which includes your spouse. So the mother or father may make undermining statements. Oh, you really should have married Susie when you had a chance, never mind who you married, right? So I can't tell you the number of comments I hear like that. So one of the boundaries is, I'm sorry, you never, I don't want you saying that ever again. This is my choice, right? So the young adult or the 35 or 45-year-old man or woman has to just learn to stand up for themselves. Again, here's that crossover with codependency recovery.
Yeah.
But I have to say before that, there has to be an internal shift in the core belief. So the core belief is in the enmeshed systems is that I am responsible for my mother or father's feelings and needs to some extent.
Yeah.
And it's okay for me, and it's my responsibility to sacrifice myself, and by the way, the person I'm married to, for them. And the belief is that somehow I have to share equally the distribution of my energy and goodwill. And of course, it's impossible to do that and make everybody happy.
Right.
You won't make your mother or father happy, you won't make your spouse happy, and you won't make yourself happy. And the truth is that it is not equal partitioning out. The self and the partner must get the bulk of the energy as you emancipate. The mother and the father and the family get less of it. It is not equal partitioning out. So that's the most distorted belief. So before a boundary happens, it really has to be an internal job. Wait a minute, I'm not responsible.
Yeah.
I'm an empathic, sensitive soul, and I can see why I felt concerned, but wait a minute. It was my mother or father's job to hold in some of their neediness and not put it on me, or not let me run around and take care of them. It's their assignment to take care of themselves. It's not mine. So with that understanding and with that challenge to my core beliefs, so you do that in therapy, you do that with a coach, you do that with a friend. You don't do it with your brother or sister who says, what are you talking about?
Right, exactly. They're just going to, they're going to be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
We do have to take care of mom and dad. Are you crazy?
Yeah, it's you who has to take care of him, so I don't have to.
Yeah, exactly.
So
but there's that fine line. I can hear people writing in about this. Like, well, wait a minute. Isn't it caring? You're telling me I shouldn't care about my mother, father?
No, thank you for saying that. You're right. There's a lot of echoes I'm hearing as well. And no, but you don't know where the line is, your listeners. You can't know where the line of differentiating me from you if I'm obligated to you? How could, because that'll change and it'll be defined by the person who has the need, which isn't you.
Right.
So until you fully emancipate, I'm sorry, mom, this is my life, or dad, brother, sister. And I first am loyal to that life. And then I can care for you. See, if I can come from that perspective, I have a better sense of where the line is. But if I'm obligated to you, you define the line. And the line is always shifting depending on circumstances.
Exactly.
So, but if I'm emancipated and I'm free to be in my own life, I can care about you. I can love you. I might even listen if you're having problems, but I'm not responsible for them. And you're going to have to find a way to take care of them. Or maybe I might help with a financial donation or buy you something that you might, if I'm in the position to do that. But I'm sure in the heck not going to do it because I'm obligated to you. And I'm not going to deprive my family for you. So, but if I'm not emancipated, I can't make those decisions. I don't know where the line is because the line is being defined by the needs of the person obligating me.
Well, here's a question for you. I have about 10 actually. I'm like, okay, wait, which one do I want to ask first? Let me think. I'm thinking about, let's say someone that is, let's just talk about someone that might be in college and they're saying, hey, I really am realizing I need to, I don't want to say just anyone in college, but anybody. What do these people need to do when they begin? I love this. Wait, let me back up. I know I have my brain's like.
Go right ahead. Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay. So what I'm hearing you say is, I want to break this way down. It's got to be an internal shift, an internal knowing, like, whoa, it's like we're waking up out of a dream. We're becoming more conscious. And we say to ourselves, wait a minute, hold on. My priorities are my parents, my mother, my father. This is out of whack. I need to be my life or my priority in my life, or myself and my husband and my children come first, and then my parents. Once you get married, that's where the focus should be. Correct? Yes.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
So, how does someone, if I'm married to someone, let's say my husband is calling his mother X number of times a day, checks in even every day. I think that's extreme, by the way. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. I'm like, please tell me, because that to me is like, what the hell? Every day? Like, come on, man. Like, that's a lot. How do we, if we're married or in a relationship with someone and we're witnessing this enmeshment, but the person involved doesn't see it, they don't know. And then we go to them and we say, hey, just wanted to let you know, it's kind of extreme that you're checking in with your mom every day and having that hour-long conversation. That person is going to defend, because I've had many clients that have said this to me. Well, when I've said that to my husband, he just defends and says, well, it's my mother. What do you want me to be, unloving toward her? They see it as caring. They see it as loving. So how do we, even if we're doing it, even if we're saying this, let's say to a sibling, like, hey, sister, brother of mine, you're really, mom's really leaning heavily on you. Do you see that? Well, no, it's just love. Like, how do you wake that other person up? And can we do that? By the way,
that's your follow up with the more sober reality, and that is it's very difficult. In particular, start with the first part. If you're committed or romantically married to somebody in this, and they're not quite getting it, or they've normalized it, right? That's what you're talking about. It's familiar and normal to them, and they don't exactly experience it as distressing to them. Although if you get down and ask them, they do feel angry when they get off the phone and irritated, and they feel bothered.
Or exhausted.
Exhausted,
many people say, I'm so drained all the time. I've got to talk to my mother. I remember one client I had, she came in and she said, if I don't call my mother every single day on the way home from work, and I have to talk to her, she had an hour commute. She said she gets so angry with me. And she says, and she'd say, this is the word that I'm taking away from what you're saying today. She'd say, I feel so guilty if I don't. So there's that line between codependency and enmeshment. And I'd say to her, you are enmeshed with your mother. Your mother is enmeshed with you. It's unhealthy. And she'd say, I feel so guilty. I can't. Anyway.
So it's hard to get someone to see that, because think about it. Their loyalty is to the parent. And so if you're the spouse knocking on the door and saying, wait a minute, don't you want to give me some attention, some of that attention? I get the leftovers. You're all exhausted from the
Yep.
conversation with your mother. And by the time we visit at night for dinner, you don't want to listen to me.
Yeah.
So part of it's the agreement, a covenant in the marriage where the partners have let the assignment of protecting their couple's relationship as their priority goal, or it hasn't been defined. So I might argue that, when you come directly at somebody who's enmeshed, that they get very defensive. And so you've got to use a soft startup and say, look, and I'm having a hard time here with the fact that I'm beginning to feel. So you've got to take ownership. I'm beginning to feel second fiddle here. I know you love your parents. I love them too, but you're irritated and angry after you get off the phone, and I can't talk. You won't talk to me. Something's got to change. I want to rework how we define our marital bond. So you've got to move back into who are we.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a right by legally and spiritually and otherwise to say, wait a minute, what's our arrangement here?
And you're not attacking for the relationship they're having with the dysfunctional relationship they're having with their parent. Your focus, the focus is more on the marriage or on the partnership that they're in and the relationship that they're in. Yeah.
It's a better entry into it because you're right. You go directly at them, they're going to get defensive. And the truth is, both partners are responsible for keeping out intrusion.
Yeah.
Porn addiction, alcohol addictions, and parents.
Yeah.
So both partners have equal responsibility to protect that sanctuary between them. So I would say that would be the route I would advise.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you may run up against a brick wall there, and then you've got some trouble, right? Then you've got, it's not uncommon, we get these men who come into the workshop. I just ran one this weekend, so I'm kind of fresh off the stories, by the way.
Good.
And
give us some good examples.
Probably three-fourths of them, their wives said, look, it's me or your mother. Wow. So they eventually get a bottom line. And I swear, it's 3/4 might be generous, 2/3 of the group, it's me or your mother.
Yeah.
I'm done. So sometimes you need a bottom line, but if you use it as a way to manipulate and control, but you don't mean it, you're cooked.
Yeah.
Don't even think about threatening. It has to be, I've reached the end of my rope here. I'm sorry. The self-care position, not a leveraging, threatening position. Because so many, and particularly in codependency, codependents will try to stand up for themselves, but they really don't have a solid sense of self to back it up. And so they'll threaten and they'll try to coerce or leverage when they can't back it up. And so you've got to really come into your own and say, look, I'm really getting tired of being second fiddle here. I think I'm at the end of my line. And so you lower your voice and you slow the cadence down, and it's a self-care position. I want you to know I'm reaching into my line. And so it's time for us. So you need to know that in advance. If and from my standpoint, you're spending all your energy on your mom. And I know we disagree, but if I'm heading out the door, you need to know how I feel. So you get grounded, but that's a really difficult position to take because you have to put the relationship on the line. So let me be clear with your listeners. Don't even think about using it as a leverage or a threat.
Yeah, it's a different energy that you're coming with. It's not a leverage. It's not a threat. It's like, this is my self-care. This is what I need to do for myself. And that's not selfish. That's self-loving. That's self-care.
And it's in the best interest of your partner, even if they can't see it.
Absolutely.
So redefining what is our marital or relationship contract? What is going on here? I need to redefine this with you. You seem to be back being the good son. I didn't marry the good son. I married the man that I was in love with, or the woman, and where'd she go? Where'd he go?
Yeah.
So I need him back. And so, and then I think if there's an opening, so if you can create an alliance, look, I love your parents, but sometimes they're just too much, and I can see they're too much on you. How can I be there for you? So if you can be an ally and not an adversary, sometimes that helps. Not at the cost of your own personal self-care,
Right.
but an alliance.
And it would seem also that going to a marriage coach, marriage counselor, having that third party that can point this out. Because
Absolutely.
again, then I'm not the bad guy because I'm not the one seeing it. Someone else is seeing what's going on here.
Mhm.
But I like
Yeah,
that. Yeah, I
yeah.
like that.
And
What you're
most
saying.
good licensed marital therapists understand that the romantic relationship must be the priority.
Yeah.
Sometimes though, you get therapists who miss that mark and they want to bring the parent in for family therapy or something, and
No.
you've got to be you got to be careful with those therapists. I understand that. I was trained in some family systems, but
Mm-hmm.
this isn't the time to bring the parent into the session and work it out with the son or the daughter.
Yeah.
Uh, it feels like a marital. I've had guys go into therapy with their parents after the workshop, and they feel like it's a marital session with the mother.
Wow.
It feels icky to them because the therapist missed it and,
Ooh.
and thinks that somehow we need to negotiate this emancipation.
Mm-mm. No. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Nope. No.
Emancipation is not negotiation.
No.
And
So
you do deserve your parents' blessing, but you don't need it.
yeah. What do you people are gonna say? I can already hear it. And this is one of the questions too. Again, what are we supposed to do with the guilt that comes up?
Hmm.
I know what I want to say, but I want to hear what you want to say.
Well, get a little angry and push back inside yourself about it and say, wait a minute, what am I feeling? So really break it down.
Yeah.
So I think when you feel that guilt, it's so intrusive and it's so burdensome that your first response is to numb it out, escape it,
Yeah.
dismiss it, don't talk about it, rather than, wait a minute, what am I feeling guilty about here? Let me ask myself, where does this come from?
Mm-hmm.
It, how am I responsible? How did I get there? Why am I responsible for my mother's wounded childhood or neediness or my father's? And why are they not turning to each other, or why are they not getting a therapist? Wait a minute. So there has to be some some internal shift and confrontation within your own self about getting into some conversation. No, wait a minute. This is not my job here.
Yeah.
And when ready, to say that to a parent. Say,
Yeah.
look at mom, dad. I know you think that I should take care of you, but the truth is I'm not responsible for this anymore. And there's something very freeing when you can begin to do that. And yes, there is some initial guilt, but
Mhm.
sometimes that guilt is a representation that you're doing the right thing.
Yes. Ooh, I like that. The guilt is a representation that you're doing the right thing. And you sit in the guilt. You don't let the guilt stop you from continuing the boundaries in that relationship.
Absolutely.
So what do you do then when the parents are angry? What do you do
Mm.
when the parents come back at you and, you know, start to get really angry and, they're not happy with this boundary that you're putting up?
Well, so you say the mature adult, since they're not,
They're not.
and know, and you say, look, I can appreciate why you're bothered, but I don't deserve your anger. And you know I love you.
Hmm.
And you
Hmm.
being angry with me is not going to help me come back around and visit with you. So I really don't want your anger. I would like your blessing and understanding.
Hmm.
So you lower your voice and
Yeah.
you slow the
Yep.
cadence down and you become the mature adult. And I always teach or encourage people I work with to have 2 or 3 short elevator sentences, not elevator speeches,
Yeah.
short sentences
Yes.
in their back pocket. They pull out and they repeat like a salesperson. No, I'm not responsible for that. I understand why you're angry. I don't deserve your anger.
Yep.
It it makes it more difficult for me to return and visit with you, which I'd like to do because you know I love you. So I'm going to ask you to hold off on that. So you've got to, you get to talk that way to your parents. Everybody
Yeah.
be disrespectful about that. They need to learn too. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if you have bright children who have their own wings about them, they'll challenge you from time to time. My son does. I don't
Yeah.
like it, but okay, here's an opportunity. So it happens, and everybody gets to grow in the relationship, and that's what enmeshing parents cling to. Is the opposite of that, is that they don't want to be challenged and have to deal with their own issues.
Yeah, because you're really holding a mirror up for their issues.
Exactly.
Yeah, like if your parents are married, it's like, Mom, you need to turn toward Dad and stop turning toward me. Please, I like what you said. I call those little statements bullet point boundaries. They're short, concise,
Beautiful.
and to the point. Mom, I love you.
Yep.
I love you. And no matter what that parent or person is saying back to you, like, no, you don't, blah, blah, blah. Nope, you've got to keep it short and sweet. I always say, stay out of the weeds. That's not true. I love you. Period.
Yep.
I want us both to be healthy. Period. That's it.
Yep. Don't go there with them. Don't get drawn into it.
Don't go into their story because it's all a story and they're just trying to reel you back in with what they're saying. You just keep saying those little bullet point statements.
Yeah. Their narrative is to draw you back into the guilt.
And what do you do? A few people wrote in and asked this question. What do you do when your mother or father, they have no boundaries and they're actually really toxic people? Like they're very, very, very unhealthy. And when when the person tries to pull away or not pull away, but set those boundaries, they get attacked. They get raged on. They're then gossiped, around in the family, then they get gossiped about. So what do you do when that person that you're trying to separate from, or I keep calling it untangling from, because that's what it feels like when they're really toxic. Yeah. What do you do if they're toxic?
Well, want to be careful here because everybody feels like their parents are toxic, right? And so, but I know what you're referring to. I know that it's a very hurtful, damaging encounter that you're referring to here. I think in those cases, boundaries tend to be more rigid, more distance, pushing the edge of amputation. And so, and sometimes rigid, separation for a period of time, sort of pushing the parents back into the corner. And sometimes that can be helpful. They might, see that it's in their best interest to keep their mouth shut, basically. But sometimes not even that will help. And so the boundaries have to be rigid. The visits have to be very short and sometimes public. I'll meet you in a restaurant for the holiday.
That's a good idea. Public.
I stay at homes. And so sometimes, it gets down to seeing them 3 hours a year for a holiday dinner. And, you get to see the grandkids when we're in public at, an amusement park or dinner. And you're not allowed to say anything negative about my partner if we're gonna leave. So you have to be much more firm, if not rigid, in your boundaries.
Yeah. Yep. And if the guilt comes up, it's okay.
Yes.
Like it's okay.
Face the loss.
Yeah.
What we haven't talked about is a lot of these adults who are enmeshed also have to go through the grieving of, I'm not my mom or daddy's golden girl or golden boy anymore. And I need to let that go. I need not to be so special.
Yeah.
I've been working with a guy off and on. And this story is true of a number of guys. And I said, you have to be a little less attractive to your mother.
Ooh,
right?
That's a good one. I like that.
Be a little bit short. And I don't mean rage, but don't be so attractive. Don't make it so nice. Maybe maybe you should be in she doesn't want to talk to you. You should be attractive to the woman you're dating. And not surprising, as he's become a little less attractive to mom, he's he's in love and he's got something going that's really working and so forth, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, emancipating and grieving that I'm not your golden boy. I really have to let that go, or golden girl. It's hard to do.
I was
It's
just
hard.
going to say I've worked with people. That's a hard one.
It's a hard one.
Yeah.
Because that's the loss that I don't. So I can blame my mother or father for hanging on and be angry with them, but I'm not noticing that I'm hanging on to.
Yeah. Because that's an identity that they're
Yes.
letting go of. I'm the golden boy, I'm the prince, I'm the princess, and now it's like, I'm not going to be that anymore. And then who am I if I'm not that? So
Exactly.
it's really grieving that, and then building up self-worth around, who am I now? Who am I
Exactly.
really underneath these masks that my parents put on me or my parent put on me? Interesting. So what does here's my last, actually I have two more questions. What does a healthy relationship actually look like? We're talking about the dysfunctional and the enmeshment. What does that look like?
You mean between parent and child or between two adults?
Parent child, like what would be the goal in this? If I am realizing as I listen to this show today, oh my gosh, I am enmeshed. What's my goal?
Mhm. Yeah, I almost see the shift as we are now more equals. We visit as friends and consultants and loving family members, but I'm not here out of obligation. So I might visit, I might still travel with you. I might
Mm-hmm.
still call you weekly.
Mm-hmm.
It's because I'm interested, but I'm under no obligation. Or I might skip some time. I might not talk to you for a month, and you miss me and I miss you, and that's all it is. There is no commentary about obligation that you owe me, or where the hell were you, and
Mm-hmm.
why didn't you be a priority? And so that has removed itself from the dance of the relationship. And so the parent and the
Mm-hmm.
child are now free to visit and be with each other in ways that it works for both. I
It
get to meet
sounds
you.
free. It sounds just free to me.
It
Like,
is.
oh, I haven't talked to my mother in a few days. I think I'm going to call my mom.
Exactly.
Versus, which is free. There's no guilt. There's no shame. There's no, uh-oh. So we're not saying my mother's going to be really mad at me if I don't call because it's been 2 days. Ding,
Precisely.
ding. That's more enmeshment.
Exactly.
Or, uh-oh, man, I haven't talked to my sister's telling me my mom's mad at me. I better call. No, unhealthy. So I like that. It's this freedom in relationship and mutual respect.
Yes. Yes. One of the
Yeah.
assignments I sometimes will give enmeshing adults is to call or visit with your family only when you want to, not when you feel obligated to. Oh, it's just like falling off a cliff for these people. But it really is the right boundary. Call when you want to share some
Ooh, I
love,
like that.
or you're really curious how things are going. See how that feels. And it'll feel different to the parent. That's what the parent's missing. It'll
Yes.
it'll feel more fulfilling to get out of the way and wait until you get a surprise call from your son or daughter who says, "Oh, how are you? I've been thinking about you." It's so gratifying. It's
Because
so
I'm genuinely calling and reaching for you. I'm genuinely interested. How are you? How's your day? How was your week? How was your month? How was your whatever? Genuinely, not from when I say the word should, it always feels shaming. The word should to me is shaming. I'm shaming myself. I'm shaming someone else. I should have done this. I should have called. No, stop it. Wait till
Mhm.
it feels so good and then make that phone call or reach for that person. Someone asked this question. This was a good one. Are healthy relationships universal? And what about cultural differences? Like I know growing up Italian, what boundaries?
Yeah.
And I know growing up in New York, I had a lot of friends that were Jewish, same thing. What
Mm.
boundaries? Like, the Jewish mother, I had friends that had the Jewish mother. Like there were no, I dated a Jewish guy. And it was like me and him and his mom, we dated. I have Polish friends. I have Indian, and I just talked to a client the other day. She's married to someone from Saudi Arabia, very much like enmeshed. And I'm thinking about enmeshment, like we're all enmeshed from these cultures and others. What do you say about that? Like some cultures are just that way. So
Yeah, and so that's a tough one because I think there are some cultural norms that sort of have the family as the priority. The trouble is these family systems are very autocratic. So
Mhm.
it's someone's defining who the hell's in charge, and it's not you. And
Mm-mm.
you have to pay a price for that obligatory assignment of cultural enmeshment or loyalty. Let's call it loyalty. So I think even in the cultural normative umbrella, I grew up, I think I mentioned to you last time, with a Hungarian family.
Yes.
I know all about this.
Yeah.
Um, so there is a way to get my own feet on the path and still operate within the cultural norms. Having said that, it's not easy.
Hmm.
And we see, so I've worked with some colleagues who work with the Asian population, for example, too. This all first, by the way, almost all first generation family systems in this country, sort of circling the wagon, staying connected, staying together, have
Hmm.
that sort of enmeshment circling the wagons. So
Yeah.
we see it in multiple cultures, Latino cultures, Asian cultures. You mentioned Jewish friends,
Yeah.
and I think it's inherent in first generations. But the culture we live in, anyways, let's just call it here, we're
Hmm.
not the States, requires an independence to find your way. I mean, you've
Yeah.
got to find your way. And so, and I think developmentally, it's hardwired, regardless of the culture, to become autonomous and separate. And so I think there still is an opportunity to be my own person and love you and visit with you in the cultural norms. Having said that, it's a little bit more difficult, for sure.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
little,
Because setting those boundaries is like, what? I remember going up to visit when I'd moved away from Rochester, and one of my friends, her father, Italian, 100% Italian, uh, they had a family dinner which I grew up the same way. We had family dinner on Sunday. That's just what everybody does, and everyone comes over. And I was in town visiting just for the weekend. And I had said to her, "Oh, let's go out to dinner on Sunday night." She says, "Well, it's family dinner." And I said, "Can't you miss one family dinner?" She
mhm,
was distraught.
mhm,
She was, well, my father will get so upset he won't talk to me. I
mhm.
have to be there for family dinner Sunday night. She said, "Why don't you come with me?" And I said, "I don't want to go to family dinner. I love your family. Don't get me wrong, but I want to go out with you and me and the girls." And she ended up going to family dinner because she was so worried about the fact that her father would be that upset.
Now,
Um,
there's your enmeshment. There's your difference from codependency's rigid, obligatory assignment to be loyal at all cost.
yeah,
And your needs are not relevant here. So we see that under different cultural umbrellas, and there it is. It's a perfect example.
yeah. Oh,
Perfect
it was,
example.
I remember sitting with her and I'm like, okay, what is going on? It's probably 10 years ago or so. And I realized it was the enmeshment. Like she was terrified.
Yeah.
Well, my dad will not talk to me. He'll be so upset. I'm like, who cares? No, no, no. He won't talk. She goes, he will not talk to me if I don't show up for dinner. I'm like, whoa, okay. All right, last question. And you just mentioned this, and I have this too going on. Any advice for parents? Let's end this putting these parents in their adult chair, which is the healthiest version of themselves, with all the kids going to college. So this is a big time for college drop-offs. What advice can you give to parents? Like, let's be really healthy with our kids. I'm sure a lot of parents are listening going, uh-oh, I have some of these tendencies. What do you
Yeah.
want to say to our parents,
Well, first of
fellow
all,
parents?
do your best to get out of the way. They'll come back around. That's the hope. And there's a new relationship emerging. And so turn to others, your spouse, partner, adults, build a new community, get some interests. I mean, it's hard to do when you've invested in your kid, and there's a certain in conscious parenting, there's a gratifying, what we call this more recent generational involvement with kids, again, sometimes too far, but
Mhm.
conscious parenting is very gratifying. And because you get to really stand witness to watching, your kid blossom, and it's wonderful. But it's harder to let go, and so there has to be an acknowledgement of it, a grieving of it. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay
Yeah.
to, but grieve with somebody other than your kid, and wait around and try to stay out of the way. Try to let them contact you. It isn't as if you can't say, by the way, I was holding open a weekend in the fall, thinking of visiting. Let me know if that works for you. It'd be
Mm-hmm.
nice to see you in the middle of the semester. I'll take you out to dinner. Dinner's on me.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you do what's right for you. So you keep giving the message to honor their separateness while also saying, hey, it'd be nice to see you. So the commitment is to their separateness. You're not dismissing the need to visit with them, and
Mm-hmm.
they want to visit with you, but they might be so busy, right? So my
Yeah.
son returned text because he doesn't see them anymore, so
Yeah.
because he's so busy, and now the school has started already. That's the advice I would give. Get grounded in your life. Let things happen. Understand there's a shift in the relationship that's in both parties' best interests, including yours, if you can hang tight. But if you impose that grief on your child to take care of, it'll prolong the distancing, and it'll increase the conflict in nobody's best interest.
And I think about when the kids go to college, it's like, we've done a good job. We've done our best as parents, like cut that umbilical cord completely when they launch, whether they're going to college or working, whatever they're doing when they graduate from high school. But then it's time for a new relationship to bloom and blossom.
Absolutely.
We got to let that happen though. And if we don't cut that cord in a healthy way, it just leads to dysfunction with these kids and the kids and the guilt. Like, let them free, let them become, it's sort of like they're becoming a butterfly when they leave the nest, and they can't do that if we're holding on so tight. We got to let go. I just did a whole podcast on this actually about a week ago on raising teens and then launching them. So you guys listen to that one if you want more information on that. It was podcast 276. Anything else you'd like to say, or how can people find you?
They can go to the website, overcomingenmeshment.com, all one word, overcomingenmeshment.com.
Thank you so much for being here. It's always a pleasure to have you. Yeah,
great. Nice to see you. Thanks for having me. I love talking about this. Did a great job as always.
Thank you. I hope that you enjoyed that show. It was incredible, I thought, as always, with Dr. Ken Adams. He is just an enmeshment expert, among other things. He's a very, very talented guy. I really enjoy having him on. Don't forget, 30-day journaling challenge starts November 1st. It is free. Love doing this. I write brand new prompts every single year. By the way, this is our 4th year. And if you want to join us the whole month of November, that's at theadultchair.com/30 days. You have to sign up. Even if you've done it in the past, you're not automatically on the list. So make sure you do that and join us for a month of transformation this whole November. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you have a lovely, lovely week, and I will see you seated right here next week in the adult chair.